If I'm not looking after myself and my well-being suffers and my health suffers, I quite literally might not be here for my children. I think that's so important to know and learn and understand.
Hello and welcome to Demystifying Child's Play. I'm Ruth Vercoe and today I'm joined by Tamara Milne. And with her on the show, it's going to be a little bit off the topic of play, but chatting about something that is oh so important. She is a radiographer, and at 33, while she was a fit, healthy young mum and she was expecting baby number 2 in 3 weeks, she got told the life-altering news that she had breast cancer, which is news no one wants at any stage of life, let alone with a toddler and another baby about to arrive. She's come out the other side and is so grateful for her work experiences, which had ingrained in her the importance of knowing her normal and performing regular breast self-checks, which has meant she's here to be a mum today. So welcome, Tamara.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honoured to be able to chat with you today about something that's so important to me.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. So everybody, let's get comfortable, whether you're out on a walk, catching a rare moment of quiet, or multitasking around the house. Let's chat with Tamara about what she wished everyone knew about breast cancer. And now, as always, with this, all the notes are going to be online at my blog. So it's playschemas.com/blog. That's play, schemas.com/blog. So if you're listening to this while you're on the run and thinking, I really want to go back to this or send it to someone else, don't worry, you can go straight there. So Tamara's got 5 top things that she wished that everyone knew about breast cancer. And I was going to say woman, but I want to hear your first point.
First point, yes, men and women can get breast cancer. So a little known fact, men, unfortunately, you are not excluded from this conversation. I feel like the more often that I speak about this, it's so surprising to everybody that men can also get breast cancer. So statistically, it's minute compared to the amount of women. It's about 3,500 women in New Zealand are diagnosed every single year, but also around 25 men. So much smaller statistically, but still so important that men are part of this conversation and men equally understand that they are as well at risk of developing breast cancer.
And that was news to me when we were first talking just before coming on this podcast, or saying, oh, should I say woman? And then she's like, oh, no, men can too. And I was like, sorry, what? So you definitely learn something new every day. And as you said, 25 compared to 3,000 or more is very small, but that's still 25, which every person is a life. Every person is a dad or an uncle or a brother or a son. So very important. So if you are listening to this, make sure you get your men to listen to this as well if you're a woman. Okay, so your point number 1, men can get it too, which may have blown all of our mind. So what's the second point that you wished everyone knew?
I wish more people understood that no one is immune for breast cancer. It does not discriminate whether you have a family history or not. So regardless of your age, how well you look after yourself, what your diet and lifestyle is, whether or not you have a family history, and whether or not you're a male or a female, no one is immune from breast cancer. So it's really important that we understand our risk factors, but more importantly, that we understand what the signs and symptoms of breast cancer are and the things to look out for, so that we're getting to know our normal, and then that really makes it really clear to us when something veers off what our normal is.
I think that's so important, and that's something that I didn't really look into until I had kids, was that everyone is slightly different in all of their bodies, as we know, but actually knowing your own normal. So then what would be the signs and symptoms of breast cancer?
So again, really important to understand what our own normal is. And just on that point, I think that's something that I really bang on about when I teach workshops, is getting used to what our normal is throughout all the seasons of life, right? So through the varying stages of our menstrual cycles, as we move through things like pregnancy and breastfeeding, and as we then down the line move through perimenopause and menopause, is getting used to what our evolving normal is as we shift through those normal kind of hormonal ebbs and flows. And then when something is abnormal, it really jumps out at us. But it's really interesting because most people think that the only real sign and symptom to look out for is a lump or an obvious kind of lump or hard area within the breast tissue. But lump is only one of the signs and symptoms. So other things that we need to be aware of and looking out for are things like skin color change. So getting used to what the skin on our chest area normally looks like. So the color and the texture. Rash. So any kind of change in the texture of our skin. So a common sign and symptom of inflammatory breast cancer is a rash on the skin, which we refer to as peau d'orange or orange peel skin. It kind of gets that inflamed red appearance, but it looks a little bit dimpled like an orange peel. So any change in the color or the texture of the skin is something really important to be aware of. any dimpling or puckering of the skin. So there might be an area of the tissue that starts sort of pulling inward or sort of pushing outwards. That can be an indication that there's something a little untoward going on in the skin. Then we have nipple changes. So really important, as silly as it sounds, to get to know what our normal is with regards to our nipples. And it can be really normal for some people to have a slightly inverted nipple on one side. And again, if that's your normal, that's nothing to worry about. But if anything changes, so if one of those nipples decides to suddenly pull inward or project a little bit outwards or suddenly veer off in a different direction, then that's something a little concerning that we should be getting checked with the doctor. The next thing is anything untoward coming out of the nipple. So any sort of unusual nipple discharge. Now, obviously, when we're in the thick of breastfeeding, we can have things leaking through our nipples all day. Milk is one thing, but if we were well beyond those breastfeeding years and we started getting sort of a milky colour discharge that was really out of our ordinary, we'd need to get that checked. Or it could be slightly blood stained, slightly green or yellow or pus-like. So anything unusual coming out of the nipples, we should always be checked. Then we've got lumps moving up into our armpit. So being aware of kind of what we're feeling in our armpits. Our lymphatic system is really important for kind of removing toxic buildup within our system. Works its magic when we're unwell, sick with a virus, or, removing those toxins that we're exposed to day in our lifestyle. Unfortunately, though, when we have a cancer and one of those cancerous cells breaks away and has the ability to move into that lymphatic system, the lymphatic system does its job of sweeping that off, but then it moves through that lymphatic system and spreads around the body, and that's what we call metastatic spread. So being mindful of any kind of swellings or hard lumps under the armpit, and that may be an indication that our lymphatic system is inflamed or is possibly moving. So being mindful of that. If a lump doesn't go away, then we should definitely be getting checked with the doctor. So it's being mindful of these things, right? And getting used to our normal. And if something veers off and it's a little bit unusual, I always say, book an appointment with the doctor. Sometimes it can be 2 to 3 weeks before you can get that appointment. So we've got it booked in for 2 weeks' time. We're monitoring that lump or monitoring that kind of tenderness or lump under our armpit. If it goes away in that 2-week period, cancel that. Not to worry about. But if it's still continuing and lingering or getting worse, we should absolutely be seeking medical advice.
I think that's such a great point, is just booking the appointment. I know for myself as a mum, it's really easy to prioritise my kids and get their appointments all booked and making sure they're it. But doing something like that, where if you've got a concern, booking it in and then continuing to monitor, because you said if there's a lump there and it does go away, you just cancel the appointment. If it stays, you know that appointment is coming. And so you're not then like, oh, I now need to book it, but we've already had it for 3 weeks. So that's a really good point to remember, as well as all the other bits that you've shared.
Yeah, and I think that's really important is getting that appointment booked in, because as busy parents, right, we prioritise everything else. But, if we sort of find a sign and symptom and think, well, that's a little unusual, I'll monitor that for the next month. And then so we watch it, it's not going away. Then we try and book a doctor's appointment and it's 3 weeks down the line. 2 months can make a really big difference for something like cancer. And so early diagnosis is your best chance of having a good prognosis and a good outcome. So catching things really early is so essential. So getting onto things as quickly as possible. So if in doubt, make that appointment, get onto it, and like we say, cancel it if it's no longer a concern. But yeah, early diagnosis is truly, truly so essential.
Yes. If in doubt, check it out. Okay, so number 1, men can get it too. Number 2, no one is immune from breast cancer. Number 3, you've shared a really good list of signs and symptoms of breast cancer. So this will be on the show notes, just in case anyone's thinking, oh my goodness, it was such a great list, but it's gone in one ear out the other. Don't worry, we've got your back. What would number 4 be?
Number 4, I've really thought about this a lot over the last 2 years. And that's, how we model health situations and our own well-being is going to have such a huge impact on our children in the future. And I think so often in the media, we're seeing stories of young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s being diagnosed with late stage or terminal cancers because, they've brushed off signs and symptoms, or, they've been told you're too young. And I think part of that with certain health concerns is that almost that embarrassment of talking about things that can be a little bit awkward and taboo. And I think part of our movement with Check Your Bits is bringing these conversations to the table and normalising them and, normalising checking your bits, right? And normalising knowing you're normal. I think the more that we model this to our children, the more confident they are going to be when they're adults to speak up when something is off. And, that conversation changes as their age and their understanding evolves. And I guess in one respect, I was really lucky in the phase of life I was when I was diagnosed, because I had a 20-month-old and a newborn. And for a lot of it, they didn't really understand what was going on. They were none the wiser. We just made it a normal part of our day-to-day life that mum was born for a season, or mum was just a little bit tired and not feeling her best. And that conversation has evolved as they have gotten older and they can understand things a little bit more. But I think it's just evolving what you say to them in a way that they can understand and is age appropriate. And that may be as simple as, instead of not even disclosing that you're going to the GP or brushing under the carpet, it's nothing major, just going to the doctor for a routine checkup, is actually saying, Mummy's been feeling a little bit off. I'm really tired and I just don't know what it is, and I'm going to get to the... Or actually, my bowel habits have changed. I'm going to the toilet more frequently, and that's a little unusual. So you know what? I'm going to go and ask the doctor for advice and see if there's anything I need to change. Or I check my breasts really regularly and I've found an area that's unusual, or I've found a lump and it's worrying me. I'm going to go and get it checked. I think starting to have these conversations with our children as they grow and evolve, and helping them to understand how important it is to know our normal, but also speak up when something's off, I think is really going to empower them as they kind of move into their teenage years, the early adulthood, and the rest of their lives, to be able to speak up when something's off and to seek advice and not shy away and not brush it under the carpet.
That's such good advice about talking to your kids at the age and stage that they're at. When you said you felt lucky that you had it when your kids were so young, I was like, oh my goodness, to start with, I couldn't think of anything worse. But then actually, as you're explaining it, it did make the explaining that season to your kids a lot easier than when they're older, without that fear. But then as you went on to talk about how you would talk about the doctor's trips and kind of what you noticed in your body that's changing going to the doctors, I really love talking about that and how you're framing that as well, because the doctors aren't meant to be a scary place. They're a place with people who've got this knowledge, they're experts, and they're there to help you have the best life. And so if kids don't have this fear of doctors, they know they're there to help you and they know their bodies. They just match hand in hand so well, as you said, from being little ones to being teenagers to being adults themselves, having this healthy respect around their body and the services that are out there to actually support us. We don't need to try and trudge through this on our own, because as we were saying before, as mums, it's really easy to brush it under the carpet and not worry about our own needs and our own well-being. But actually, if we're looking after ourselves, we can look after our families so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so number 1, men can get breast cancer too. Number 2, no one is immune. Number 3, you've shared the signs and symptoms. Number 4, we're going to be modelling our own situations with our own health and well-being. What would be the last one you'd like to share?
I think it ties in nicely with what you just said, is that, taking time for ourselves to nourish our own well-being and our health is not selfish. It's really essential. And I think so often as mothers and parents, dads as well, you put yourself at the bottom of the pile, right? We're looking after everybody else. We're doing all the things for the family and the children and kind of putting their needs first. And it's really common for our own well-being to come at the bottom of the pile. And I think something that I've really learned over the last few years in my kind of post-cancer healing phase is that actually, one, I show up so much better as a parent when I'm filling my cup and looking after myself, when I'm nourishing my soul and I'm doing all the things that fill my cup and, boost my energy levels. I parent better. I'm more responsive to my children. I'm less reactive. I'm kinder to myself. I'm a better partner. I'm a better friend, all the things. But also, if I'm not looking after myself and my well-being suffers and my health suffers, I quite literally might not be here for my children. I think that's so important to know and learn and understand. If we're taking time to look after ourselves and to get to know our normal and, we're more in tune with our bodies, even when something's off, it's so obvious. And the quicker we get onto things and the more that we look after ourselves, the more likely we are to be here well and healthy and thriving for our children and years to come. And, that's something I visualize daily is being here as a grandparent for my beautiful babies, knowing that I have looked after myself and I've listened to my body and catered to all my needs, sometimes first and foremost before their own.
And that's such a great one to finish on, just reminding ourselves that we are so important. that our kids do revolve around us, and we revolve around our kids in so many different ways. But if we're not looking after us, we cannot look after them to our best ability. And we're wanting to give our kids the best in life. Every parent does. And giving our kids the best is actually looking after us, as you're saying, making sure we're doing things that fill our cup, that nourish us, that will support us and who we are, that we still see friends, that we still have relationships. While our kids are amazing and we love spending lots of time with them, they are draining. Motherhood takes a lot of toll on us, and so does fatherhood. And so we're ensuring that we are looking after ourselves as much, if not more, than we're looking after our kids, because the more we do that, the more we can outpour into them. Thank you so much for sharing today. You've shared some wonderful tips. I know that I'll be making sure I get off this and I check my bit. So where can we find you to know more about checking our bits and to find more education and anything else?
Perfect. We've got an Instagram page called check_your_bits. Also over on Facebook is Check Your Bits NZ. There you'll find lots of educational pieces, kind of tips and tools and reminders to do your self-checks, how to do your self-checks, and little facts to prompt you to add this into your daily routines. We've also got another Instagram page called Check Your Bits_body care. In the aftermath of my cancer, my beautiful partner and I brainstormed how we could actually force other people to create a really consistent self-check habit. So we created a beautiful all-natural body wash, which is designed to sit in your shower. It says check your bits on it, a little bit cheeky, tongue-in-cheek, but we want it to be that visual prompt in your line of sight while you're already naked. It's a perfect time to be doing your self-checks. To actually force you to do it right, in the hopes that you get to the bottom of the bottle and it has ingrained that habit into your routine. You can also find us at www.checkyourbits.co.nz. You can read a little bit more about my story. You can also find out information about upcoming workshops, or if you'd like to book in a corporate session for your workplace.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think if anyone's going to take anything away from today is knowing you're normal. That's what I keep coming back to. Is for me, I kind of just thought you'd just kind of check every now and then, or if you see something a bit strange, but actually knowing your baseline, knowing your normal you've been sharing about is so key. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. Remember, everyone listening, today is a great day, but it's also a great day to check your bits. So make sure you prioritize doing that while you prioritize your health so you can be there for your kids. If you've ever wished that you had a group of parents who just get it, I would like to welcome you to the Play Schemers Collective. It's where you can ask questions without judgment, share those little wins only another parent would understand, and dive deeper into your child's play with people who speak your language. Join us at playschemers.com/collective for more information. We can't wait to have you on the inside.